Hey guys, I am back this week to talk to you about emotional support animals. This video today is going to be about how to make your pet an emotional support animal, or ESA as most people call it. We will be going over how it works and how your emotional support animal is protected by law in the United States. I'm Megan with Happy Tails Pet Care, and I'm a professional pet expert and nutrition consultant. My goal is to educate people about animals and help pet owners provide the best care to their beloved pets. See a pet in my video you like? Let me know, and I will feature that pet in more videos. Emotional support animals are protected under the Fair Housing Act and the Air Carrier Access Act. Any type of animal can be an emotional support animal. No training is required, and anyone can have an ESA. You do not have to have a disability. With that being said, ESAs are not protected under the Americans with Disability Act and therefore do not have access rights other than boarding an airplane. A lot of people confuse ESAs with service animals. So if you are trying to get your pet registered to be able to go to stores and other places that usually do not allow pets, please go ahead and watch this video here, which is all about service animals and how to get one. The link, in case you do want to make your pet a service animal, will also be in the description of this video down below. Okay, so ESAs do not have access to be able to go to public places like stores, places like that, restaurants that do not normally allow pets. That is called access rights, and as of right now, 2016, federal law does not give emotional support animals the right to be in those places. There are very many pet-friendly cities that have lots of businesses that do allow pets to go in, and some places do allow emotional support animals to accompany people with them. But that is not everywhere, and that is not the federal regulation. So someone that is taking their ESA with them to Walmart, places like that where food is out and pets are not allowed, they're actually breaking a federal law that is meant to protect service animals. Service animals and emotional support animals are very different, but it is easy to understand the difference between a service animal and an emotional support animal. Service animals are task trained to help a person manage a disability. Emotional support animals provide emotional comfort and they relieve stress, but they are not trained to perform a certain task that helps with those things. They do not have training, but they are still important. So that is the main difference between service animals and emotional support animals. One has training, one does not have training. So you may be wondering why having a pet with the title emotional support animal is beneficial. Numerous studies have shown that pets can be very beneficial to a person's physical, emotional, and mental health. Those of us with pets can definitely agree that they offer a type of therapy. But it can be really hard for someone to own a pet if they don't own a home. And that's why the government protects our right to be able to have a pet through laws such as the Fair Housing Act. The title emotional support animal is important for people who would not otherwise be able to have a pet because they live in situations where there is a no pet policy. So now that you know what an ESA is and why people would want to have an ESA, let's talk about how they are protected under the law. As I mentioned, they are protected under the Fair Housing Act and the Air Carrier Access Act. The Fair Housing Act covers all assistant animals, and if you live in a place where there is a no pets policy, if you have an emotional support animal, then they are allowed to live with you. Pet deposits and fees cannot be charged on an emotional support animal. If there is a breed restriction, ESAs of that breed are still allowed to be in the building. So while an apartment complex might not allow pit bulls, if it is an emotional support pit bull, then they have to allow it to be there. And this covers all types of animals as well. However, it does not override city ordinance. In some cities, mini pigs are still considered livestock animals and are not allowed in residential areas. It will not matter if your pig is an emotional support pig if your city does not allow pigs inside of residential areas. Even with the right paperwork, it would actually not be allowed. But there are some cities that do allow mini pigs in residential areas. So in some situations, an emotional support pig would be allowed if the accommodations can be made. Just remember that if you are trying to get something other than a dog or a cat, you do still need to provide a safe and clean environment. The landlord has an obligation to the health, and safety of all the residents. This means that if somebody wanted to have an emotional support llama but didn't have a yard for that animal, it could legally be denied. Landlords and property managers must accommodate you and your ESA to the best of their ability. You cannot be charged a pet deposit on an emotional support animal. However, this does not mean that you are not liable if the animal does cause damage to the property. Under the law, you are still required to pick up waste from the animal, have the animal controlled at all times, and pay for any damage that the animal causes. The Fair Housing Act states that a property manager may exclude an emotional support animal if that animal is out of control and posing as a danger or threat to other people or other animals inside of the residence, and if that animal's behavior is not corrected. Which basically means that if your emotional support animal were to attack another person or another pet, the landlord could legally ask you to remove the pet. So while training isn't required, basic obedience can be very important. Your ESA is also protected under the Air Carrier Access Act. With the right paperwork, your pet could go in the cabin of the airplane with you. However, the animal does need to be able to fit in the seats with you, and it needs to be under your control, not posing as a danger or threat to other passengers. So now some of you are probably thinking that this could benefit you, being able to keep your pet or get one if you've never been able to have one before. And you might be wondering how to go about it. The best, most legal and ethical way to get your pet to become an emotional support animal is by going to get a written letter for it from your doctor, your therapist, your psychologist, or psychiatrist. Unlike with service dogs, this doesn't have to be a note from a doctor. It can be from a mental health therapist. Your mental health therapist should evaluate your emotional state and your need for an ESA. Like I said, anyone can have an emotional support animal. You do not have to have a disability for this. These animals benefit people by providing comfort and reducing stress. Someone might have an ESA to help them with depression, while another person might have an ESA to help them relieve stress from work. It is all about your emotional health, so there are many reasons to have an emotional support animal. If you want to have an ESA that is something other than a dog, you will need to explain to your therapist why your needs are different. For example, someone might have an emotional support bird because they are allergic to dogs and cats. Or they might have an emotional support guinea pig because they are unable to provide the care that a dog requires. Be sure to include this information in the letter that the therapist is going to give you so that your landlord understands why you might have a different type of animal other than a dog. There is no such thing as a national registry for emotional support animals. There are plenty of scams online that will register your pet for a fee. This is only a way to get money from you. And unless you're going to take your ESA aboard an airplane with you, there is no reason to have a vest for them. Be careful to avoid online scams. If you have questions about ESAs, please leave them in the comments below. Give this video a thumbs up if you learned something, and don't forget to subscribe. I put out a new video on animals every week. Thanks for joining me. You see someone take their dog everywhere and you're wondering, how can I do that? Access rights, which is being able to enter any public place with a service dog.